Hello everyone, Ollie here from ℽ𝕧𝕖𝕒, and last night I was able to rewatch a Mortal Kombat from 2021. Now, there's a couple of things I need to preface before I start reviewing this film. One being that I have already reviewed the 1995 film and also *Annihilation*, the sequel to the 1995 film. So if you're curious on my thoughts on those two films, if you haven't already, please go check them out. And the second thing I need to preface, which I've already mentioned in the 1995 review, but I think also in the *Annihilation* review, is that I've not played any of the Mortal Kombat games as of yet. I plan to once I've watched the new sequel to this one, Mortal Kombat 2. I'd like to start playing it, but up until then I want to remain as a non-game fan, because I'd like to view this new film as a film fan and not so much as a Mortal Kombat fan of the games. So when I do come to review this, hopefully with Dusty, she can be a perspective as a game fan, a lifelong game fan, well, a fan of the games, and me as a film fan that has some knowledge, obviously, from these three films, the 1995 film, *Annihilation*, and of course this 2021 film. So I thought it would be an interesting thing to do. So I'm not going to be playing the games as of yet until I watch the new second film that's coming out next May. So just thought I'd let you guys know in advance, because there's going to be some things that I'm going to discuss in this review that I'm a bit leery on, unaware of, that I might have missed because I haven't played the games. So just keep that in mind. So as I said just now, I've already watched this film once before, when Dusty actually lent me her DVD copy of the original 1995 film and also her 4K of this new film, the 2021 film. So that was when I first watched them. I think it was back in February this year, I think. And now I do have both the original on Blu-ray and also this one, the 2021 film. So I have those both to watch endlessly if I want to, but you know, I won't. So this was interesting, an interesting rewatch, because when I first watched this film, I really liked it. Now I'm going to quickly go back and tell you how I watched these films. So I first watched the 1995 film first, because obviously that was the one that came out first. I could maybe only get through half of the film, roughly, maybe slightly less than half of the film, because I was just like, I don't know about this. At least this film isn't for me. And then I decided not to finish the film the next day. I decided to watch this one, the 2021 film, which I really liked. And then that made me want to go back and rewatch the 1995 film, which I have more respect with now, and it kind of grew on me a little bit, especially with the second watch the other day when I did the review. So from really liking this film, you know, having watched the first half of the 1995 film and then, you know, watching it, yeah, so it's a bit weird. So I was coming into this one thinking I was still going to really like this film, and don't get me wrong, I still like the film, but there's things that I've noticed that a lot of people, mainly the fans of the games, do point out. So in a way, I've technically, when I watched this for the second time, I've kind of put on two pairs of glasses. One's as, you know, for me, as someone who isn't a fan of the games, but also for the people that have watched the films and have been complaining, because you know, there are things that I've heard that people weren't a fan of in this film. So I thought I'd watch it and kind of see in their own perspective without even playing the game. So yeah, it was also interesting in that sense as well, because I was watching it as someone who's already watched the film, that liked it, as who hasn't played the games, but also as as someone who is a fan of the games but hasn't played them. It sounds a bit weird, but you know, try and understand why they don't like this film, basically. Well, certain elements of the film. So having done that, this was interesting. So obviously I'm going to start off with my positives, as I usually do with these reviews. I guess we'll start off with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which are kind of the standouts in this film for me and a lot of people. I mean, they are on the front cover of of the Blu-ray, but also on the poster, I think, as well. So yeah, I mean, they're kind of like the primary characters that and also they're obviously in the opening scene, which I guess I could also say is in my positives is the opening scene, which is probably the best scene in the film, to be honest. It's the standout scene in the film. It's the opening. It's you know, showing their origin. I think it's Hanzo and Bihan as their original names. Obviously, this is before they renamed themselves Scorpion and Sub-Zero. So you know, yeah, that opening scene is brilliant. Just the fights, the emotional impact. Obviously, when Bihan, Sub-Zero, obviously kills his family, his wife and his son. But luckily, obviously, the baby daughter was obviously hidden away under the floorboards, and then obviously, and then Raiden came in after everything happened. But you know, I kind of got why, because I'd watched the original film, and he doesn't obviously interfere with things like that, which is a bit annoying when you look at it. But you know, I guess that's how the game works. Yeah. Anyway, I'll get back to that side of things because there's something I want to say later on in the review about the little girl, the daughter of Hanzo. So obviously the opening scene, we get that Hanzo dies, and then he goes to the Nether Realm, and then we cut to this brand new original character, which is kind of the first thing that is kind of the standout mixed reception of the film is Cole Young. Some people do like him, some people don't. I think it's the majority of people, especially the Mortal Kombat fans, don't like him because he's very meh, apparently. And when I first watched it, I was like, yeah, I like this guy, I do like him. He seemed like a cool guy, you know, he's a family man, you know, trying to look after his family. But when I watched this for the second time, I had that insight in my head, obviously, as you know, someone who's watched the film and as a Mortal Kombat fan doesn't like him, and I tried to look at it and see why they don't like him, and yeah, I see what, you know, he's a bit generic. I can see that, you know, kind of the underdog side of the story, which, you know, you see thousands of times in films. But you know, I mean, I like him enough still to like him, but I mean, I understand the stuff that people don't like about him, that he's a very kind of a paper thin character. He's not really any different to any other underdog character, you know. So I understand that side of it, but I don't think he deserves the amount of hate that he gets. Like, I do like him. Again, I like that he's a family man, you know. I mean, he's an original character, and obviously I'm a newcomer to the franchise. Just having obviously only watched the first two original films, and then coming into this one, you know, it was interesting following a new character, even though I originally thought he was going to be a part of Mortal Kombat, but he isn't. He was just for this film, so it was interesting seeing that. So I'm guessing there's two perspectives as someone who has played the games and some people who haven't played the games, just film fans and just watching it. So the people that I've watched that's reviewed this film have played the games, and you know, have said that Cole was a bit paper thin as a character, and I mean, I can't argue with that. He isn't exactly he hasn't got the most depth as a character, so you know, I can't argue with that. But anyway, Cole Young, I still like him enough, but I understand and see the flaws of his character. So, which we'll get to in a little bit, because there's things I want to say. But continuing on for the positives, special effects and the effects, the fighting, the gore. Obviously, it's heightened, of course. Like, there are like a lot of gore in this one, unlike the original two films, which were PG-13. So they couldn't have profanity or, you know, swearing really or anything like the cheesy humour and campy tone. So that's kind of what they're known for. But when obviously, you know, it was announced that this was rated R and it was going to be more gory, more darker. People, obviously, the fans were very happy apparently, and you know, I guess film fans in general probably happy with what they got. But yeah, it definitely had more impact having the gore and the profanity of the side of things, because the originals was just like pow, kick, you know, like, you know, it didn't really have that much impact, whereas this one really did, to me anyway. It was definitely heightened, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, I guess continuing on from the characters, I mean, obviously I already mentioned Raiden, who obviously first was shown in the opening scene. I liked him. I mean, he was a bit more standout in the original because of his voice and the way he looked. It was kind of interesting. There's a really gravelly voice now, whereas in this one he's, you know, well, he's Asian in this one. I don't know if he's originally Asian in the games, or if he was white, because in the original film he's white, and he's a very gravelly and grotesque voice, whereas in this one he's Asian. So I don't know which people prefer, mainly, but I liked this version of Raiden. I also liked Sonya. I liked her in this. I think she's better in this one than she's in the original, personally. And there's not really much to go to say about Annihilation, to be honest, because, yeah. But, yeah, I think this is the best interpretation of Sonya, in my opinion. Like, she kicks more ass in this one. You know, I kind of like her personality. I mean, sure, she isn't one of the most standout roles in the film, but I still like her. Obviously, I've already mentioned, like, Sub-Zero. Like, he's badass as well with his ice, his kills and everything, especially when he, you know, freezes up Jax's arms, like, at the beginning, when obviously he's trying to protect Cole and his family, and, you know, yeah, that scene hits hard as well. And it's cool to see, it's interesting to see Jax, seeing him before he gets his metal arms and everything, and see how that turns out, which is how that leads up to that scene. But yeah, moving on to Jax, as I've just mentioned him, I liked him as well. I think, I mean, he was better in this one, in my opinion, than Annihilation, even though I thought Jax in Annihilation was one of the, kind of the only redeeming factors of the film. But anyway, but yeah, I prefer Jax in this film to Annihilation. I think he was cool. Yeah, seeing him before he got the metal arms, and then when he did get them, was pretty cool as well. Music as well, I really liked. I mean, you know, the theme isn't as prevalent in this one as in the original. Like the bum 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 bum. It was less bum bum bum, and was more just very more grounded theme than just a more techno theme like in the original, like the Techno Syndrome theme. It was more, you know, downbeat, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, it worked, especially for the tone of it and the way they were going to do it. So yeah, very good. Oh yeah, back to characters. I forgot to talk about Liu Kang and Kung Lao. I mean, they're great. I mean, Liu Kang isn't as prominent as in the original, because in the original he's actually the main focus of the story. Whereas in this, he's kind of just a side character, because obviously this main focus is on Cole Young, which is kind of what got some of the fans' panties in a twist. Yeah, they have some cool moments, especially Kung Lao, especially the rolling blade bit where that person's thing cuts him in half. Like, oh, that was so cool. Now, I guess moving on to my mixed aspects, is, well, one of them, the big one, is Kano. Now, a lot of people that have played the games and has watched this film say that Kano is actually probably the best character in the film, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, I've got to be honest. So, for someone who hasn't played the games and hasn't seen Kano in the games, I'm gonna guess, because he was like this in the 1995 film as well as this one, but he's obviously very comical, and I'm guessing he is like that. That's kind of his personality in the game, I'm gonna assume. But the way they did him in this one, for me, as someone who hasn't played the games and who's just a film fan, there were standout moments that I liked of him, but especially the scenes where he starts pushing people to their limit and, you know, trying to make him fight him. I'm like, dude, just shut the fuck up and sit down or whatever. Like, I don't like, when he gets to that point, I just don't like those big loudmouth bitches. I don't like it. I don't like that side of his character. But I think he's good as a one-liner guy that comes in. Like, certain things I liked about him when he just quickly says something out. But when they mostly focus on him and he starts mouthing at certain characters for too long, the way he speaks to them, and I don't know, personally to me that I just didn't like that side of his character personally, which is what's in my mix and not my negatives, because there were certain things I did like about him, but also things I didn't. So Kano, while I guess he kind of is a standout character, because considering he's the comic relief of the film, the main comic relief, things I liked and some things I didn't like about him. But anyway, Kano. And my final mixed aspect is kind of a little thing that I brought up earlier in my positives when I was talking about the opening scene, is with the baby that gets hidden away from obviously all the chaos that was happening, is that I was hoping that they were going to show that she would come in later on in the film, like as, another, obviously Hanzo's daughter, like, is she going to become part of the tournament? I don't know if if the daughter is actually brought up in the games, or it was just purposes for the film, for this new film, but it would have been interesting either way for us to see if she would come into play, because they were focusing on her a little bit in the opening scene, so I was hoping that, okay, she was going to become, especially when I first watched the film, that she would become a prevalent character. I thought, actually, I didn't realise until we were told that it was a girl, I thought that was Cole, that Cole was going to be Hanzo's son, but until we were told it was a girl, like, okay, so, but it was an unnamed baby, and then the baby wasn't even brought up again later on in the film, so it would have been cool to see if she would have come into play, but she just gets sent off by Raiden to safety, basically, like, away from the chaos. So it would have been cool to see how she would have come into play. Maybe she'll turn up in the sequel, no idea, years later, I don't know. That's just me, it's just a nitpicky thing that I thought would have been cool to add in for the film, but, it is what it is, got to focus on Cole Young. And moving on to my only negative, really, I can say on the film, which is something that I didn't really take into much consideration when I first watched it, was this film was more of a setup for a sequel that people have been waiting for. Now, again, I haven't been waiting for the sequel because obviously I haven't played the games, wasn't aware of what's going on, but with the whole tournament side element of the film, obviously that's the whole purpose of Mortal Kombat, because it's a tournament, and it's not really technically in the film yet. It's for the sequel, which people were actually wanting initially. So the way they did it was a bit, okay, nonchalant, like, they have this new character, they're set up with new character Cole, because I don't know how Johnny Cage wasn't, I don't know why he wasn't in this film. Dusty, you might have already told me, in which case I apologise, but let me know again. But I'm guessing there was a feud behind the scenes saying that we don't want Johnny Cage and we want a new character, so that the audience can sympathise with them or something like that. I don't know, but obviously Johnny Cage obviously does get brought up at the very end of the film. Obviously that's the whole setup for this second film, is getting Johnny Cage. He's going to be a new champion in the tournament. So the tournament isn't actually in this film, which is the whole purpose of Mortal Kombat, which is a bit kind of shitty for the fans of the games. So it's like, this is going to be a setup film rather than actually paying off what we've been wanting for God knows how many years. Since, what was it, 1997, when the last Mortal Kombat film probably came out, studio-based one, which was Annihilation, which was panned. So what, 20 years maybe, over 20 years since the last one. So waiting this long and then finding out that this isn't actually really a Mortal Kombat film, while having a lot of elements to the films, but in terms of the actual purpose of Mortal Kombat, it isn't actually there yet, which, thinking about it, and it is a bit weird not just having that, but sidelining it so we can introduce this new character, which again, I like Cole, but I've already said what I said about him, but you know, it does come across as a bit weird when you think about it. And you know, the whole purpose of Mortal Kombat is this tournament that obviously Outworld has won 9 times, and then ℕ𝕼𝕒 has one more chance to reign supreme and, you know, try and defeat Outworld. You know, that was obviously the interesting aspect of the original film. But you know, not having it in this, you know, I still enjoyed the film. It was just knowing about it, and you know, the fact that, you know, it was like, what if the sequel actually never came out? I mean, luckily it is. Like, I'm glad it obviously is coming out. So people say, oh, now we're finally getting the real Mortal Kombat film, because, you know, the tournament is actually here and Johnny Cage is in it, and Cole Young isn't going to be probably a prevalent character, which is a bit unfortunate, because obviously he's being sidelined to have Johnny Cage being showcased. Obviously Johnny Cage is going to be being played by Karl Urban, which, I mean, how can you displace Karl Urban as Johnny Cage with having Cole Young? Because my worry with Cole in this sequel is that he's not gonna, well, he's certainly probably not going to be as a main central character, but I'm also worried that they're going to kill him off, because obviously not many people liked him. But then the people that do actually like him will be kind of pissed off that he didn't get an actual chance. He might be like a fucking Taskmaster in Thunderbolts, where, you know, not many people actually like Taskmaster, but, you know, because of that, you know, they killed them off like at the beginning of the film. I hope that's not the case with Cole in this new second one. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's my only negative with the, you know, this is more of a setup film than an actual Mortal Kombat film. I mean, technically it is, obviously, but with the actual main story and the actual lore of the film, of the games, isn't actually technically there. But that's kind of my only negative that I can really say about the film. But overall, guys, I still really enjoy the film, but I didn't like it as much as I did the first time round. So with that being said, I'm going to give this film a 7 out of 10. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10 for my first watch, but yeah, I'm going to bump this down to a 7 out of 10. Still enjoyable film. Obviously I'm still going to rewatch it in preparation for this second film coming out in May. I'm looking forward to it. I think this film is really going to win over the fans if they do it right. I mean, I can't really say what they'll do right, what they will do right, because obviously I haven't played the games. But all I'm looking for the sequel is, I'm hoping that it's still enjoyable. I'm hoping that it's going to be as enjoyable, if not more, than this one. Yeah, I'm excited to see Karl Urban as Johnny Cage, because one thing I liked about the original is Johnny Cage. So I'm wondering he's going to be giving us a new flavour of Johnny Cage, but we'll see. Sorry guys if this review was a bit nonchalant and was a bit all over the place, but I wanted to get this review out as soon as I could. I couldn't record it last night because I watched the film late, and obviously it was late. Couldn't record late that anyway because I was quite tired anyway, so went to bed. Here I am now the next morning reviewing it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Mortal Kombat 2021. And are you a fan of the games? Did you come in watching this film as a fan of the games, or did you come in as just a film fan and haven't had any previous knowledge of the games or the other films? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you'd rate it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.